In this series of videos called Transitions, we're going to look at homes that have been upgraded significantly, the before and after photos, and discuss strategies that you can use as a seller or a buyer to capitalize on homes that have not, if you're a buyer, have not been, well, it really depends on your situation, but have not been improved where you could get a lower price because of that. Or maybe you are a person that wants to have a house that's turnkey, ready to move in. You don't need to do a thing. There's benefits and costs to doing both. So we're going to delve into those today in this video. So give us that like thumbs up if you're good with that. The core question here is, are you better off with the newly remodeled home or the fixer-upper? I myself prefer the fixer-upper because I'm able to add a lot more equity. I pay lower taxes every year. And if I choose to sell, I'm going to command a higher price. Plus, not only do I get a higher price when I sell, but I make the upgrades that I want to my liking. So, but one thing I recommend though is staying neutral with your upgrades. Don't go crazy and if your favorite color is hot pink, paint everything hot pink. Don't do that. You want to stay neutral. So you want to keep that in mind. Be mindful of the upgrades that you're making. So you want them to you want them to be most attractive to most people out there. So basically we have two camps here. We have camp A, which is the home totally redone, all remodeled, all brand new. You don't mind paying a little bit higher price, actually a lot higher price in some cases, but you don't mind that because you have peace of mind. Everything's new. Or you camp B. You're looking for a fixer-upper. You don't want to pay a high price. You want to have a lower tax bill every single year because you paid that lower price. Which camp are you in? Now, as a buyer, most people are going to be in, they say they're going to be in the fixer-upper camp. Well, when they see the home that's totally remodeled, most people, especially if they're neutral in the design choices, are going to want the fixed-up house, especially if you don't need to pay a high price for it. But a lot of people do want that fixer-upper so they can make the house their own. So you got to decide as a buyer which camp you're in, and also as a seller which camp you're in. So are you in camp A, where you want the fixed-up house, or camp B, where you're looking for the fixer-upper as a buyer? Now, as a seller, you definitely want the fixed-up house so you can command a higher price. It's all remodeled, but you may not have the money. You're like, I don't have the money to $50,000 or to $100,000 to make all these upgrades. Well, I have a solution for you. We have an actual company that will make all these upgrades for you. You do not have to pay a dime out of your pocket, and everything gets paid for out of escrow. So you get the best of both worlds. You have the house totally upgraded before you sell, before it goes on the market. You get the higher price. You don't have to pay for it, and the home goes into escrow when it closes. All that gets paid for. Now, you're thinking, like, how much money is this going to cost me? Well, the average upgrade is about $50,000, but the average increase in price is about $200,000. So what we're talking about is an additional $150,000 on the selling price of the house if you go ahead and make the upgrades before you sell. So if your house is, let's say, worth $1 million before you do the upgrades, after you do the upgrades, it's worth $1.2 million. Be mindful of the tax ramifications. Currently, there is an exemption if you're married for $500,000 on the proceeds of the sale. The first $500,000, you are tax exempt. Now, if you're single, you're tax exempt for the first $250,000. But there has been a lot of talk about getting rid of this capital gains tax, which I think would supercharge the market even more than it's slowly coming back to life with the decreasing interest rates that we're seeing now. So you want to think about that in your situation as a seller. Now, essentially what you are doing, if you sell a home that's not in good condition, it's considered a fixer, essentially what you're doing is you're giving money. You're just giving money away to the investors out there who are going to make the upgrades and reap the benefits of a much higher selling price instead of you reaping the benefits. Now, I would much rather see you get the money. It's your property. You're entitled to it. instead of giving it to an investor who's just going to sell it. You have a personal stake in your house. The investor, they have no stake in your house at all. They're just looking for a quick profit. So what I recommend that you do, if you're thinking about selling and your home needs a little bit of work, give me a call, especially if you're anywhere in Orange County, California. Give me a call, free of charge, no fee whatsoever, no commitment. I'll come over, I take a look at your house and recommend, yes, you are a candidate for improving this house and capturing even more equity than you would normally be able to capture with an old house that needs a lot of upgrades. Now, this zero cost out of your pocket of remodeling a house takes anywhere from 6 to 9 weeks, depending on how big the project is. Now, these upgrades, they are not pain-free. They come at, a cost, not only in money, but in convenience. You're not going to have use of your kitchen. So you want to set up another kitchenette somewhere else in the house that you can use while the kitchen is being remodeled. These will be totally taken apart. All new surfaces installed everywhere in the kitchen, all new appliances. Now, that comes at a cost not only in money, but convenience. But there are solutions around that. There are ways to seal off that area with plastic and a zipper for the door where the dust is not going to come into your living area. So you want to take that into account when considering this decision. But what you're going to find is the house is a lot more valuable when you're done and it's easier to sell. You're going to get a much higher selling price and it's going to sell faster. You may have multiple offers and it's a good situation to be in. So again, do not hesitate to contact me if you are considering selling. So let's get right into it. Let's look at the pictures of these homes. I want to show you also where it's located so you can see that this is not the ideal house for most buyers. One thing you want to keep in mind is the ideal size house is 1,500 square feet. It has a direct access 2-car garage, and it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, single-story home with a driveway. That's ideal. When you veer away from that, when you're a little bit smaller, less ideal, less marketable, and you're bigger than that, also less people looking for a home that's bigger. It's not ideal. You have to pay more because the square footage is bigger. This particular house is on the smaller side. Now, there's some benefits to that. The smaller homes are actually much less expensive to upgrade because you don't need as much material. You don't need as much labor to make those upgrades that are so needed. So this house right here on Audubon Way is 1,069 square feet. Let's say you need flooring on all 1,069 square feet. It's actually going to be less because you don't, a lot of times, don't need flooring under the cabinets. You don't need flooring in the entire bathroom. You've got the tub and the shower. So let's just say 1,000 square feet. Let's say you get ultra deluxe flooring and you pay, let's say, $10 a square foot. That is $10,000 for the entire house for brand new flooring everywhere. And that's installed. But it's probably going to be closer to $5 a square foot if you shop, so $5,000. Now, if you can imagine, flooring for the entire house is between $5,000 and $10,000. Probably all the upgrades that you saw in the house that I showed you earlier, all of them are probably less than $50,000. But you've got $150,000 more in a selling price because of that. Now, as a seller, do you want to give that $150,000 to the investor who buys the house? Or do you want to make those upgrades yourself, sell to a family who's going to enjoy your upgrades, and give you $150,000 more? Most people are going to say they want the money, but that money comes at a cost. There's 6 to 9 weeks of construction that have to go on while you're in the house. So, as I stated before, there's ways to get around that. Setting up the kitchenette with the plastic to seal those areas of construction off. All right, let's start on Zillow. So here's the house. This house is on Audubon Way in Lake Forest. Now, this house actually backs up to a 6-lane road named El Toro Road, which most buyers don't want to be anywhere near. This house sold, let me just show you real quick, for after it's been totally remodeled for $1,005,000. Let me just show you where the price was before the remodel, then I'll show you the before pictures. So right here on 3/25 of this year, 2025, this house sold for $796,000. And then 2 months later, right here, very same house on July 8th, sold for $1,005,000. So a tremendous increase in equity. And let's just take a look at why that happened. At Audubon Way, and you can see the house is right over here. See it right over there? This is El Toro. So El Toro Road, right next to the house, makes this house less marketable. It has an inferior location, makes it more difficult to sell. So that's a flaw. But the upgrades have overcome that flaw and allowed the seller to capture over $200,000 of increased equity with the upgrades that they made. Here's the before. So you got popcorn on the ceilings. You've got ugly window coverings. Looks like worn out floors and a very ugly fireplace with burn marks right above the, or at least smoke. Nothing special about the door. I mean, that's it. It's the living room. And this is like emblematic of the whole house. This is actually a nice room compared to a lot of the other rooms. Now let's look at the after. What did they do? Okay, here's the after. Same exact room. No window coverings. Common tactic of sellers to take the window coverings down because it shows a lot better. You don't realize this as a buyer because you're looking at how nice the house is, all the light coming in. But as a seller, you don't have to pay for these window coverings, and the house actually does show better without them. So don't go through the expense. If you're a seller, don't have those window coverings because the valuable light that comes in helps the house sell. And when you block that light, it makes it less marketable. But this particular room has vaulted ceilings. Had it before, it just looked ugly. The fireplace has been upgraded. And you can see in the photo they've got the fireplace on. They put a chandelier in. They took out that ugly ceiling fan. And they've got it staged with nice furniture. Now these upgrades, not a significant expense in this particular room. They did not spend a lot of money in the living room. But the difference is huge in appearance. This is the room that you come into when you enter the house. And we're going to look at a lot of the other photos as well. But let's just go on. Let me show you on the map where this house is located. Here it is. We've zoomed in on it. They've got solar panels on the roof. Here's the side of the house. And then from El Toro Road, you got 6 lanes. 6 lanes right here in front of your house. Huge flaw. But again, they made it nice and they've overcome the negatives of El Toro Road with all their upgrades. That's not the only negative. You can see this path right here, right next to your house. Goes right into the neighborhood. So anyone that's walking by or riding their bike by can ride right behind your house into the neighborhood. Another huge flaw for this particular location. But again, making the house nice overcomes those flaws. So highly recommend that you talk to me about your house so I can tell you about the flaws that it has. You probably know some of them, but I guarantee you don't know all of them. There's things that you won't even think about. For example, this particular house has some tall trees next to it. One of the things that are going to make it less marketable to buyers are the trees not only have leaves that fall down on the house, but they also block the sun that are supposed to be hitting the solar panels. So one thing you might want to do is maybe give the buyer a credit for trimming the trees so they don't block the solar panels. Or maybe have trees trimmed in advance. if it doesn't ruin the appearance of the home too much. So here's the front of the house. You can see they put artificial turf in. One of the flaws that they, I think it was a mistake for them not to put like maybe flowers here in the front. I think that was an error. There you can see the front door. They've got double door entry, which is nice, but not with those doors. Those are ugly doors because there's no character to them at all. There's just a brown flat door. Here's another view of the living room. There's the kitchen. Needs a lot of work. You got older appliances, tile countertops with wood trim all around it. Oh. Popcorn on the ceiling. They were smart enough to take the popcorn out of the kitchen. Fluorescent lighting. That's not good. So this house showed pretty bad. They've got some kind of farm wallpaper on the walls there. Popcorn again on the ceilings. Now there's a good picture of the dining room with the farm motif. You've got vertical blinds behind the sink and you left them closed for the photo. Just take those vertical blinds out before that photo. Would have showed a lot better. But needless to say, these are things that help the buyer get a great price on this house. Trash in the backyard. I don't know, old furniture, more broken, dirty patio furniture. You got your HVAC system, pretty old. You got this, I don't know, looks like a water heater. I don't know, something kind of ducting there. Satellite dish. Really dirty walls. This seller could have benefited tremendously just by cleaning up. I mean, it looks like they just left the house in disrepair. So this is a nice patio cover. You'll see in the photos they kept the patio cover. They just painted it. But there's the cars in the driveway. Another thing. Take a picture of a house for sale, and you want $1 million for it. Don't have cars in the driveway when you're trying to sell it. So here's not a lot of effort went into these photos. So that's the before photos. Let's look at the after. Now all these photos I'm showing you are all available online. So it's nothing proprietary that you can't find by going online yourself. But here's the after kitchen. Got new appliances, new countertops, new cabinets with drawers underneath. Very functional. Here's the same patio cover that was there before, but with no dirt on them. It's all been painted. All the like satellite dish and the lights and wires have been taken down. Everything's clean. They pressure washed. So everything that the seller of the house previously, when it was over $200,000 less, could have done to add value and marketability to the home. Here's another view of the kitchen with the waterfall countertops. You got pendant lights, dining area, clean, sliding glass door, very nice. Here's the primary bedroom, hall bath, another kitchen photo. What's this? Another one of the bedrooms, hall, another view of the beautiful kitchen. So they did a great job. And I got to tell you that these are not top of the line cabinets. These are basic cabinets. They're not super expensive, but they make a tremendous difference when trying to sell the house. So that's the after photos. So you can see that this house is easily worth a lot more than the investor paid for it, especially after all the upgrades have been done. But an opportunities like this exist right now in the market. So you will have some inconvenience while the upgrades are being made, but that inconvenience comes at a significant reward for you when the house does sell. And while we're speaking of maps, I want to talk about our free neighborhood maps. You cannot beat free, my friends. Now, right here, at grantloel.com, grantloel.com. Or you could scan the barcode right down there. Scan that barcode, takes you right to this particular page. It's going to give you all the neighborhoods in select communities in South Orange County. Now you can see we've got Mission Viejo, and these are totally interactive. You can modify or click on any one of these neighborhoods and get information about every single one of these neighborhoods. See where they are and how they relate to each other. Absolutely free. This is Rancho Santa Margarita. You can see how many neighborhoods there are. And if you want to see these maps full screen, just click right down here on this little button. Oh, actually, it's up here. That was the control button. And it's going to give you a full screen. We could zoom in, see all the neighborhoods. We're in Rancho Mission Viejo right now. And we click on any one of these and get the name of the neighborhood and then details. And then if it's available, I've done a lot of video tours of a lot of these different neighborhoods. The video tour is going to be right there too. So the link to it. So huge resource for you. Now we're back over here. So let's just go ahead and recap what we saw. We saw a home that sold below $800,000, sell over $1 million. And that was because of the upgrades, despite the inferior location that I showed you about the house. So you've got a house that before the upgrades, nobody wanted, and it sold for, in this market, less than $800,000 is a very low price. After the upgrades, paid over $1 million for the house less than 3 months later. So keep that in mind, getting ready to sell your house. You definitely want to speak to me about if your house needs those upgrades or not. A lot of the time, your house doesn't need the upgrades. A lot of times, staging, cleaning, and preparing the house will overcome the significant expense that you're going to have if you actually do make those upgrades. But, I can't tell without seeing the house. Call or text me anytime at this number and say, hey, I'm thinking about selling. I want your free consultation, absolutely no obligation to the upgrades that I might want to make or not. And I'll give you my opinion, and I'll offer some solutions of what you might want to do. And it will, at the very least, help you decide what route you want to go. But my goal is always to help you capture the most amount of proceeds possible in the shortest amount of time to sell your home. So I appreciate you taking the time to watch this whole video. I know it's a little bit longer than usual, but I don't mind explaining the situation. And this is the first of many transitions that we're going to highlight here in Orange County to help you get the most that you can when you're selling your house. So thanks very much. One thing that you might want to do is watch this video on staging right here. Click right here and you can see another home that we had sold not too long ago that we staged versus unstaged. Take a look.